Humans. To so many across the universe, they are known as the kindest and most noble of races. Always willing to help people who needed it. Always going for diplomacy as a first solution. A race that championed the freedom and rights of all sentient beings, organic and synthetic. But some, such as him and his ancestors, saw another side of them. His people had once been feared across the universe, known as the Demons of Shadow, the nightmares that had consumed over 100,000 galaxies, enslaving or consuming everything. For almost 2 million years they had seemed unstoppable, the inevitable, all-consuming hunger that could only ever be delayed but never truly stopped. Until the day when they had come upon the edge of human territory. They had heard the stories, ships of unimaginable size with the power to destroy whole worlds, a supposedly worthy foe for the Ranchari Empire. He called up the genetic memories and remembered the laughs, the scornful jeers as the Emperor and his advisors waved off the thought of a race which did not actively exterminate everything in sight, ever standing against them, thinking it impossible. They had been wrong. So very wrong. They had planned to attack the nearby diplomatic station the humans had constructed to facilitate closer relations between the various local races, capture the ambassadors, and the Emperor and his court would devour them and broadcast it live across the galaxy. There had been a single human cruiser guarding the station, the only military vessel in the area that day. 8 kilometers in length, a blocky yet angular building, ugly yet beautiful, bristling in gun turrets and missile tubes. They hadn't even made it through the shields before the human cruiser shifted, its forward bulk splitting open like the Morrison ravenous beast, and unleashed a beam of energy that annihilated their attack force. Almost 10,000 ships, from the smallest Gurdan fighters to the mighty Duk-Chan Star dreadnoughts, instantly enveloped and vaporized. The few survivors had either been shredded by the numerous turrets dotting the hull, or simply ceased to exist under the swarm of missiles launched in waves of at least 100,000 each. After that, it all went downhill for the Empire. At first it had only been a few galaxies on the outer edges that had suddenly gone out of contact. But for a race that lived for almost 100,000 years on average with modern medicine, rebellions were common and trivial. Then the reports came back. Fleets millions strong surrounding gargantuan 30-kilometer-long ships they soon knew to be called super-dimensional fortresses, giant factory stations that could churn out 2 million fully armed ships every 3 weeks. Rings which opened portals from far-off places, allowing easy transport of men, vehicles and materials across billions of light years in seconds. But it wasn't until the inner core of their territory, the 10,000 galaxies surrounding their home, went dark, that they realized their mistake. They had been so confident in their superiority. They should have remembered that races and entities billions of years old had tried to force their will on humanity, or those they cared about, or just innocent people with them in earshot, and paid the price. Demons. That is what his kind called them, for the Emperor had long encouraged the worship of him as a god, and it had seemed fitting. Those vehicles of theirs that could transform from tanks and starfighters into giant battle mechs and back again. Their foot soldiers would seem to know no fear as they just kept coming, deftly avoiding traps and ambushes, as if they could read the minds of the soldiers who placed them. Stories of the manipulation of matter and energy, soldiers walking through solid walls, their own people's very life force being sucked out and consumed. And so many others of beings that just could not be natural, and no way to verify any of them. By the time the human fleets had breached their home galaxy, panic and fear had spread through the military and much of the population. The Emperor ordered his subjects to take their own lives rather than face defeat, and many of them had obeyed. They had even attempted to deploy bioweapons from the corpses of their own countrymen to strike at the humans. But some, like his ancestor, the younger brother of the Emperor, who had always been an opportunistic coward at heart, surrendered when they got the chance. And so they had been there on the bridge of the human flagship that day, when the Emperor himself had finally broken and pleaded for clemency. But the humans hadn't answered him. The Empire had roused an anger and rage they hadn't felt since their homeworld, Earth, had been attacked and their species reduced to less than 500,000 out of a population of billions several 100,000 years ago. They had invaded, led by the elites of their fighting force, who had obliterated the Ranchari Emperor's elite guard as if they were nothing but a nuisance, a pest to be stepped on. But something seemed to stop them from full annihilation. Instead, they'd taken prisoners. The things they'd done to them. They stuck them in cells along with the Emperor, treated them with dignity, given them fair trials before an impartial court. Not even once were their women assaulted. It was an unforgivable insult to his people, just another in the long list. The humans would certainly have never received the same treatment if his kind won, and then they'd use one of those missiles of theirs. Supposedly a standard anti-capital ship warhead. Only 10 meters long, it had shattered the uninhabitable fifth planet, never terraformed for religious reasons, and a massive beam of energy from their flagship, one of thousands of its kind present, had vaporized 2 of the system's 3 suns. Many thought of the humans as avenging angels descending from the heavens, bringers of peace and justice across the cosmos. He saw them for what they were. They were demons, ever capable of unimaginable acts of cruelty. Yet, in the back of his mind, even as he planned their revenge, he couldn't help but feel like they'd been holding back somehow. Across the cosmos, a galaxy-sized parasite screamed in rage as human ships erased it from existence.